Welcome back to another Bourbon Santa video. So, I've struggled with this video. This was a challenge that was put forward by ADHD Whiskey. If you don't already follow him, go follow him. I'm sure you do, but go follow him if you don't. And his challenge was to decide what are 5 bottles from your collection that you would keep if you had to start over, or if something happened and you needed to move and you could only take 5 bottles with you, to narrow it down to 5 bottles out of your whole collection that you would keep. And I've had such a hard time with this. And I mean, he first offered this challenge a month ago at least, and I've had such a hard time with it. So finally I wrapped my brain around, okay, if the house was on fire and I could only carry 5 bottles in my arms, which 5 would I grab on the way out the door? Because I couldn't force myself to decide using any other scenario. Because if I was moving, I would be taking way more than 5. I just couldn't get my brain to work with it. So if the house was on fire and I could only grab 5, which 5 would I grab? And so I put a lot of thought into that, and this is what I've come up with. So, 1, obviously I want to save bottles that can't be replaced. Not necessarily the most expensive bottles in my collection. Actually, a lot of these that I'm about to list are not very expensive, actually, but they can't be replaced. So that makes them priceless to me. Anyway, so I wanted to grab full bottles because I do have a nice little selection of full bottles down at the bottom, backup bottles and whatnot. So if I'm going to run out of here and only save 5, I don't want to save a bottle that's got this much left in it, you know? I want a full bottle. So my first one is going to be ASW Fiddler Georgia Heartwood Single Barrel Cask Strength. It's a Total Wine store pick, and this one is 58% alcohol. This is a wheated bourbon that I think is my favorite wheated bourbon that I've ever had. I would rather have this all day long instead of Pappy 15. Pappy 15 can, even Weller, even William LaRue Weller, I would rather have this. I think this is better. And I can't replace this. These are gone. So, and I have a full one, backup bottle for, I have mine up there that's getting pretty low, but I have this one as a backup. So this would be the first one I would grab. Next up would be a rye. This is the Old Scout Portwood finished batch 4. It is 51.5% alcohols, and this is a Midwinter Night's Dram killer. This, in my opinion, is better than Midwinter Night's Dram, and I love Midwinter Night's Dram. So this one would definitely have to go with me since I can't get another one, and I want to be able to drink this one for a little while longer after my house burns down. All right, so we got a wheated bourbon and a rye. And next we're going to go with Mr. J. Henry 2021 LE. This is cask strength, very limited batch size, 1,500 bottles total, 61.08% alcohol. This is an absolute banger of a bourbon, and this is the one that I currently have open, and this one just keeps getting better. Seriously. First whiskey of the day. Woo! That's how you start it off, right? Man, seriously, this bottle just keeps getting better as it gets lower and lower. Outrageous. Okay, so absolutely that one's got to go. Got to go. So this is our first regular bourbon in the lineup. Next up, we're going with a 4-grain that is hella weird. This is Journeyman Silver Cross cask strength single barrel. This is bottle number 9 out of batch PB216. And this is a 4-grain whiskey. And what's really interesting about this whiskey is that each of those grains is 25% of the blend. So they're just doing equal parts corn, wheat, rye, and barley. 25% each, which is, I don't know of any other whiskey or bourbon that is using a equal parts mash bill like that. But this stuff is crazy good, and it's aged in a 5-gallon barrel. So this stuff, and what's even wilder, it's only 2 years old, and it is outrageous. 111.1 proof, which is amazing that it's 111.1. Maybe we'll do a video about that later. Last on the list. So we got wheated rye bourbon, 4-grain bourbon. Last up is going to be an American single malt. This is Balcones French Oak Texas single malt. And this bottle, I've drank through 3 of them, and this is my last one. These were available at my Total Wine for a little while, and they are now gone. All gone. This is 61.9% alcohol, and it is just, I absolutely love drinking this whiskey. It is only 36 months old. 3-year-old Texas single malt, but it is just so enjoyable. It just perfectly matches my palate. I love that bottle. But that's my 5. That's my 5. So an American single malt, a 4-grain, a bourbon, a rye, and a wheat. That's what I would take. They're all full, and this is what I would run out of the door with in an emergency. Yeah, I could carry those. Now, if I was, part of the problem that I had with making this video is that I have a lot of stuff other than just bourbon and rye and what have you here. I have a lot of Irish whiskey, I have a lot of Scotch, and Japanese whiskey. And when I include all of that stuff, all the stuff from outside the United States, this list would look very different. It would look very different because there are a few Scotch that I have behind me that would have to go with me. And I know that a lot of you guys really don't care that much about Scotch. And so I wanted to do an American whiskey only list. I could, if you guys want in the comments, I could do a Scotch or other than American list of the 5 that I would grab. But yeah, I mean, if I had to include all of those, at least 3 bottles would have to be non-American because they literally cannot be replaced. And so I would have to take those as well. I mean, if the house was really on fire, I wouldn't just be taking these 5 bottles. I'd be running to the door and chucking them out onto the grass, and running back and grabbing more. I'd end up taking 100 bottles if the house was really on fire before I had to flee. But these are the 5 for American whiskeys to satisfy ADHD whiskey's little challenge. So that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Until next time, I hope you have a great day.